Welcome back to the Radical Rebrand podcast, where we chat about all things creative, branding, web design, and business. I'm your host, Megan Gersch, and today we're going to be talking about redesigning your website. So I know a lot of people hesitate when it comes to redesigning their website, or they put it off because the process seems a little bit daunting. And I totally get this. It's a lot of content to get together. But the reality is that most of the time, putting this off is actually hurting the business and costing them sales. Let me just tell you, I have done hundreds and hundreds of website reviews in my career, and there are a ton of things that can break website visitors' trust, causing them to bounce off of the site and never be seen again. All this is to say, I understand that it is a big, somewhat scary project to try to tackle, and this is why I try to make the website design onboarding process with my clients as smooth as possible. I was actually running through this with a client the other day, and so I thought this would be a great topic for the podcast. So I want to walk you through step by step what I put in place for my clients, so that way you can have a little bit of background on what you might need to prep if you're thinking about doing a website redesign for yourself. The first thing that I get in place is a Google Drive folder. So this is going to be the home base for all of the assets that we will use throughout the project. And I'm going to go through a few of the things that I include in that Google folder. The first subfolder that I'll include is for all of the branding assets. So this is where you would include your logo, your color palette, your brand guide, any fonts that you want included on your website, as well as any other style guidelines that will help to give me visual indicators of how your website should look. The more options that you give me here, the more flexibility that I will have as a designer when I sit down to create your website. Another subfolder that I will include is a folder for any photos that you might have for your brand. I usually ask for high-res photos, and the more options that you can provide, this is again going to give me more flexibility when I go to create the site. I always make sure to take a look at everything that you've given me, and this really allows me to best place the photos in the places that they look the best throughout the website. You don't need to worry about downsizing them or optimizing them for the website in any way, because I take care of all of that on my side. There are certain steps that I need to take as a web designer before uploading the images to your website, like reducing the file size, making sure that I compress the image, as well as geotagging the image. This ensures that the images load really quickly, that it's a great user experience, and this is going to positively impact your search engine optimization. I'll also be including a brand questionnaire. So if we haven't worked on your branding together, this will help me to get a sense of how the website should look and feel. I'll ask you questions like, what values are most important to your brand? Describe your ideal client in detail. I'll ask you about your competitors. I'll ask you for a few examples of sites that you like and get you to describe a few things that you like about each one. Next, I'll make a template for you for your website copy document. This will include a basic outline for the text for each section that I envision for the website. I'll ask you to fill in the copywriting for each of these sections as needed. And of course, if you need a reference for a copywriter, I'm always happy to hook you up. If you're a service-based business, I'll also ask you to include any client-specific content that you want included on the website. This might mean your case studies or work samples. It really depends on your business model, but I need all of those details in order to build out those pages. I'll also be asking you for a few sample keywords that you would like to target within your website SEO document. We typically don't use this document until later in the website design process, but I like to get some initial ideas in place for what somebody might be typing into Google in order to find your business. This is a document where eventually I will be filling in all of the SEO titles, the descriptions, the alt text, etc. And don't worry, you'll be able to approve all of that before we go live with the site. Now to get into a few of the technical details. So I will need access to your domain name as well as your hosting account. I always recommend sharing these credentials via LastPass for security purposes. Never, ever, ever send these over email just because emails can get hacked. I know it's a thing that we think can never happen to us, but it does happen and we need to be cautious about it. In addition to this, I would need access to your email marketing platform. So that way, if you have a lead magnet with a form, I can integrate that into your website. If you prefer, you can also just provide the form embed code and I can work with it that way. I'll also be setting up and giving you access to an Asana project. If you're not familiar with Asana, it's basically a project management system where we will communicate for the bulk of the project. I'll send you the work that I'm working on. You can give feedback to me. We can assign each task to each other, and we can also stay on the same page as far as the due dates for all of the different milestones. Once you've delivered all of these assets, I ask you to schedule a project kickoff kickoff call. This is where we chat for about 30 to 45 minutes about all of the assets that you've created. We walk through Asana and make sure that you have all of your questions answered. I hope that this has given some clarity on how to prepare for your website redesign. If you run a creative business and you're looking to make a big impact in your industry and you need help with your website, I would love to chat with you about your project. I'm currently offering 2 different website design packages. The first is called the Stellar Website Sprint, where we get a strategic 5-page website done all in one day. This is a semi-custom solution that is absolutely perfect if you have DIY'd up until this point and you're ready for that professional look and feel for your business, but you're not quite ready to invest in a totally custom site. The second package that I offer is for visionary custom websites, which is where I build something completely custom depending on what you need for your business. The turnaround for these sites usually takes about 8 weeks or so, but it can be a bit variable depending on how many pages you need. I'll drop a link for both of these services into the show notes so that you can get all of the juicy details. And if it feels like a good fit, feel free to apply with your information. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.